imagine your province cannot house its own people. And suddenly, the federal government decides to send thousands of asylum seekers to your province without any plan, without any funding. This isn't immigration. This is total chaos. And you are going to suffer for it. Not the politicians in Ottawa, but real Canadians like you. Today, we are going to dive deeper into why governments decided to send thousands of asylum seekers to provinces like Alberta, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and British Columbia. This is not just irresponsible. It's basically setting these provinces up for failure. Maybe it has to do something with the upcoming elections or some other motives by these politicians sitting up in Ottawa. And we're going to talk about why this is going to make everyone's life worse than what it is right now. The federal government loves to talk about we did our part and sharing the load when it's come to asylum seekers. But what they really don't tell you is that this is not really sharing the burden. It's being dumped on certain provinces without any proper plan. These provinces are already grappling with their own problems like housing, healthcare, and job. Now, these provinces are forced into taking on these additional thousands of asylum seekers, and really Ottawa is just washing their hands off of it. This is not just an unfair policy, it's dangerous. It threatens to destabilize provinces that are already struggling, and it puts the asylum seeker in a place where they are already set up for failure. So today, let's break down why this scheme is bad for everyone involved, whether it's the provinces or the asylum seekers. The government loves to say this is about sharing the load. But let's be real, it's not. It's about offloading the federal problem onto the provinces. Here are the numbers for you. Nova Scotia is being asked to take 5,000 asylum seekers. Alberta will get 27,000 people. BC, 32,000. And New Brunswick, 4,600. Well, some of you might think it's only fair to spread the asylum seekers across different provinces. But let's take a look at what's really happening here. Ontario and Quebec, the two provinces where most of the asylum seekers currently reside, they are saying they cannot handle these additional people in their provinces anymore. Fair enough, their infrastructure is struggling, but instead of federal government stepping up to address the real root cause, they're just dumping the problem onto other provinces that do not have the capacity to deal with it. Look at Alberta, already hosting over 70,000 Ukrainian evacuees, and now they're expected to take in an additional 27,000. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith has been very clear. Alberta cannot do this without federal assistance. And what has Ottawa done? Not much. Before we go any further, please like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. Subscribing to my channel is not going to cost you anything, but it's going to help me big time. Thank you. And now back to our topic. And Nova Scotia, a small province with limited resources, is being asked to take 5,000 asylum seekers. That's massive for a province with a total population of around 1 million people. It's like telling a family struggling to pay rent that they now need to house 5 more people. And oh, by the way, you're not going to get any financial help from us. New Brunswick is in the same boat. 4,600 asylum seekers may not seem much when you compare this with provinces like Alberta and British Columbia. But for a smaller province like New Brunswick, this is a massive burden.
The Justin Trudeau government is considering a plan to send 4,600 asylum seekers to New Brunswick without providing any financial assistance or any opportunity for us to have the ability to build.
Premier Blaine Higgs has already raised serious concerns in Ottawa, questioning whether these asylum seekers are even legitimate. And honestly, can you blame him? Without proper screening and resources, it's hard to know who's coming in and whether they are genuinely fleeing persecution or just looking for economic opportunities. BC has it even worse. 32,000 asylum seekers heading their way. And they're already drowning in housing crisis. How does the federal government even think that this will work? It's like adding gasoline to the fire, honestly. Let's talk about money, because this is where the real betrayal happens. The federal government wants these provinces to take in these asylum seekers. But guess what? They're not providing necessary funds to support them. It's like telling someone to host a party for 100 people and not provide any funding, not provide the venue, not provide any resources to make that party really happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Here is the reality. Provinces are spending $10,000 to $30,000 a year per asylum seeker. So let's break these numbers down. With this new policy, New Brunswick would be spending somewhere around $46 to $130 million a year only on these asylum seekers. Alberta will be spending close to $800 million a year. BC, close to $1 billion. In Nova Scotia, around $50 million a year. Where is that money coming from? Because it sure isn't coming from Ottawa. And this is where things get really ugly. The federal government, which is responsible for immigrants and asylum seekers, is passing the buck to provinces and failing to support. They need to handle this influx, not the provinces. And if they want provinces to house these asylum seekers, then you better provide some funding and the support that is required. So not the province nor the asylum seekers suffer with the decision of moving to a certain province. Now, if you live in BC, you already know how bad the housing situation is. Vancouver is one of the most unaffordable cities in the world, with the average house price sitting at $1.2 million. What's going to happen when these new 32,000 people flood into the province? Housing prices are going to skyrocket even more. Locals who are already struggling to find affordable housing will be pushed out of the market entirely. And it's not just BC. Nova Scotia's housing prices has been risen by over 40% in the last 5 years. And the government expects them to house an additional 5,000 asylum seekers. Where are they going to stay? What are they going to eat? Who's going to provide them food, shelter, and work? Are they supposed to live in tents? New Brunswick, which was once seen as an affordable haven for Canadians fleeing the BC and the Ontario housing market, is now facing its own housing crisis. When 4,600 asylum seekers enter the New Brunswick market, the demand is going to outstrip supply, and prices will shoot through the roof. Even Alberta, which had traditionally more stable housing market, is feeling the squeeze. Adding 27,000 asylum seekers to this mix, this is going to worsen the existing problem, especially in cities like Calgary and Edmonton, where housing market is becoming less affordable. Asylum seekers need more than just housing. They need healthcare too. And Canada's healthcare system is already touching its limits. In New Brunswick, around 44,000 residents do not have a family doctor. Now add an additional 4,600 asylum seekers who will also need healthcare because they are also humans. It's not a question of if the system is going to collapse. It's when it's going to collapse. In Nova Scotia, around 100,000 residents are without a family doctor. Adding 5,000 asylum seekers, it will break the already broken system. Even in Alberta, which has a larger healthcare infrastructure, wait times to see a specialist is already months long. It's not like 1 month, it's like 4 months, 6 months long to see any kind of specialist. How is this system going to handle an additional 27,000 people? BC has the same story, very similar to Alberta. We are throwing in an additional 32,000 residents to the province. The federal government likes to claim that the asylum seekers are going to fill the gaps in the job market. What job market? That's not how it works in reality. Ottawa needs to wake up. Without proper language skills, education, and credential recognitions, they won't be able to find jobs in the local market. And when they do, it's usually the low-paying jobs that offers no upward mobility. In New Brunswick, the economy is already struggling. Adding 4,600 people to that mix, how are the existing residents going to find a job when you are throwing in an additional almost like 5,000 people into the mix? Alberta has a more diverse economy, but we all know, I live in Alberta, the economy, the job market is super tough. I had to look for a job in January. It took me 6 months to find a job with a lower pay than what I was making before. And that's someone who's been in Canada for over 20 years with all the local experience and local education. How do you expect a new asylum seeker, a new resident into the country to come and find a job in a shorter period of time? It's almost impossible. The competition is already so fierce, especially when there's a huge interprovincial migration to Alberta from BC and Ontario. The job market is already super tough for the local residents. Now, throwing in an additional 20,000, 27,000 people, you can imagine how that's going to work out. Federal government is not providing any resources to these asylum seekers or to the provinces for any kind of social integration. There's no help by the federal government for proper integration into the job market, into the healthcare system, into the housing market, into the social structure of the province. they're leaving it up to the provinces to figure it out. Honestly, in my opinion, that's like a recipe for a disaster waiting to happen. Transferring the burden from federal to a provincial level is not a smart move for the provinces, for the country as a whole, and for the asylum seekers. It's a recipe for disaster for everyone involved. And that includes people like yourself who are existing Canadian residents. So what is the solution here? It's not about shutting the doors on asylum seekers. It's about doing the right thing. The federal government needs to step up, make a real plan, allocate some funding to help these asylum seekers into different provinces so they can adjust and not causing additional burden to the existing residents of these provinces. Otherwise, we are not just failing the asylum seekers, we are failing Canadians. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and share this video with as many people as you possibly can. Leave a comment and tell me what you think about this. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much once again, and I'll see you in my next video.